on.
Hi everyone, Alyssa here for AOP Tech on YouTube, and this is part one of an awesome two-part series about 10 Chromebook tips for productivity. These are tips for either you as an educator or for your students to just help you be a little more efficient when using your Chromebook. Know that there will be a second video where I've split this into two parts with 5 tips each for you, so make sure to check out that second half as well. So, a lot of these tips have to do with keyboard shortcuts to just make life a little bit easier and more efficient. So, I have an image here of a Chromebook keyboard since you can't see mine. So, we're going to start with the handy search key, which is on the left hand side of your keyboard. This search key works exactly like the Omnibox that's at the top of your Chrome browser. You can put in a web address, you can search directly from it. So if I select it, you'll see it pops up for me here. I can search this device, this Chromebook itself. I can search within my apps or for apps. I can search the web by putting in a web address directly by typing that in. If I type it in and select, it opens it for me. So I don't necessarily have to open up a tab or open up Chrome directly, type in Google, then add that extra step in. It's really eliminating some of the extra steps in there. You can even put questions directly in, like you do with when searching on Google, or I can even do the calculations. If I do 12 plus 12, you can see I get my answer here. So I'd love this in math when I need those quick conversions for me there. So great tip to utilize. Next, along the bottom was what's referred to as the shelf. And you can see on the left-hand side of the shelf, I have several apps that are down along that shelf. You might have different apps, and that's a-okay. But I can quickly open those by using a combination of the Alt key, which is to the left of your spacebar, and the number position. So that number position has to do with where that app is starting at the left-hand side. So if we're looking at my shelf, the Google Training Center is in position 1, Chrome is in position 2, Gmail's position 3, Docs is position 4, and YouTube is in position 5. So say I wanted to open YouTube quickly with that command. I'm going to use Alt and the number 5. So Alt 5, and boom, right there, YouTube opens up for me. So it's just a quick way to open those. And, somebody could say to me, well, why don't I just click YouTube there? One, I might be a faster typer. I use a lot of keyboard shortcuts. So that's kind of how my brain works. And that's the way I like to do it. Also, if you're ever having an issue with your mouse, if you have a peripheral mouse attached and it's really not listening to your Chromebook, it's a great workaround there. Next, often I try to put windows side by side one another. So I'll separate it, I'll shrink it, and then I'm kind of trying to go back and forth or resize them so that way they fit nicely next to one another. And then I'm kind of hiding some of my productivity here, and it's just not efficient. But there's a way that you can snap different windows to either your left or right side of your screen, respectively, so you can see them side by side. So if I'm looking at my keyboard, again, I'm going to use that Alt key, and then I'm going to use the left or right bracket, respectively, to indicate where I want that window snapped. So if I'm in my window here, I'm going to select Alt left, and you can see it automatically moved it to the side, but I didn't lose any of my tabs or productivity here. I'm going to go to the other window and select Alt right, and now I have 2 side-by-side windows there. So it's great for comparing and contrasting or reading and taking notes, and I haven't lost the efficiency of either page. Tip number 4 of this video here. If I'm looking at my apps, much like in iOS, you can drag your apps on top of one another to create folders. And sometimes we talk about this for students to help them organize themselves or put things efficiently. I don't like to have a lot of apps to scroll through or pages of apps to scroll through. So I tend to put them into folders. So I can do that. I'm going to take my Google Drive and I'm actually going to drag it into this folder here by just dragging it and placing it on top. So I can have all of my folders here. I can open it. I can name it Google Apps. So you can see now when I select back, I've got those 4 in to a folder and I've named it something there. I might name, uh, you know, digital presentation tools or organization tools, whatever it might work for you. And if you have 2 that you would like to start a new folder with, you're just dragging 2 apps on top of one another and it builds it into a folder, much like very similar to an iOS device if you've done it on there. So it's another great tip. Finally, and our last tip from this video here is one that I just learned and is so useful to me. We're going to use, this is a trackpad tip. So say I'm on a website and I'm going to use AOP Tech, his homepage, aoptech.org, as an example here. I'm reading this homepage and I want to open a link because I want to go back to it later, but I don't want it to interrupt what I'm currently reading. I can use 3 fingers to click on a trackpad and it'll open that link in a new tab behind the page I'm on. So hopefully I can do this right on the first time. I'm just learning it and just getting a feel for it. So I'm hovering over this link here and then I'm using 3 fingertips and I didn't do it correctly that time. So that's how it would traditionally open. And you can see it kind of interrupts my flow of what I'm reading here. Oh, there we go. And now I've opened it a bunch of times behind it by clicking with 3 fingers on the trackpad. So as I said, it kind of takes a little bit of a feel to get used to, and I'm really trying to do so because a lot of times I'll be reading a great education article, ed tech article, and there's links to either videos or more useful articles, and I want to open them because I don't want to forget them, but I don't want it to interrupt what I'm currently reading. So there we go. I got it on that try. So I selected this Common Sense Media Digital Citizenship curriculum. I want to know more about it, but I don't want it to interrupt the flow of what I'm currently reading. It opened it in a new tab and opened it behind what I'm currently reading. So a great tip there, something new that I just learned, and I'm really excited to share with you. So as always, follow AOP Tech on YouTube for everything ed tech. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube page for all the latest tips. You can also follow us on Twitter, Facebook, Pinterest, and Instagram, as well as our resource website, aoptech.org. And stay tuned for part 2 of this video.